Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with genuine human rights, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. Yes, it is I, your lovable host, Rod, coming to you live from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great Granite State of New Hampshire. Yes, indeed, I am back live this Monday evening here in the newly outfitted bunkerized home studio. Got a bunch of new furniture and equipment, and hopefully the pewter here, the broadcast pewter, is a little bit is fixed a little bit, so it'll get us through until later this summer. I will be getting a whole new broadcast, well, not a broadcast studio, but broadcasting equipment. That includes a new computer. We're getting a new soundboard. Yeah, we're just moving right along. So hopefully that, by summertime, all this issues with technology will finally be put to rest. But knowing what I have going on here, my war against technology, who knows, some new battle will probably surface. But we are moving towards that. We're designing that as we speak. And yes, I am not doing it by myself, obviously, because I am not a technophile. But yeah, so we are in the throes and process of designing the needs for all that equipment, and we will be purchasing it and then installing it sometime this summer. Those are the plans, but as we all know, plans can change. We've got wonderful Obama out there trying to change things on us, trying to change the Constitution. He's not the only one. There's a new show on television. Well, it's not really on TV. It's on Netflix. I've been watching it. I think I am now on the fourth episode of the 13-episode run in the first season on Netflix. It's a political thriller. Yeah, well, it's not really it's a drama. It's called House of Cards, and I got to tell you, it's really well done. And Kevin Spacey. Yeah, Kevin Spacey is the star and the main producer of the program. And I've always liked Kevin Spacey. I've always thought personally, I've never met the man, but he always just seemed like the kind of guy who could be a dick if he really wanted to be. He has this quiet demeanor about him, but he can really be a dick if he wants. Well, I don't know if he is or isn't. I don't know how nice or not nice Kevin Spacey. I don't think I've really heard anything negative or bad about Kevin Spacey. He's a decent actor. He's been in a lot of stuff, but he just has that demeanor about him. And since he's using a North Carolina Southern accent, it just sort of makes it even more eerie, or it makes him a little bit more eerie. I mean, he's perfect for the role. It really is. But there, you can see some correlations And now, me not living down in Washington, D.C., I cannot say that this is spot on, because I don't know the inner workings in Washington, D.C., but I do know local politicians. And I can tell you from what I have seen in local politicians, the Netflix original program, House of Cards, is spot on. Because these people, they're conniving, they're constantly... I got to tell you, after watching the first 3 episodes, I am so firmly behind term limits now. Because it's made me see something. The whole point is that you've got a bunch of people down there in Washington, D.C., who their whole business is getting power, keeping power, staying in power. They will do anything and everything in order to get the power, to keep the power, and never have to relinquish the power. And it has nothing, a lot of times, believe it or not, it really has nothing to do with money, because, some of these guys who aren't already wealthy, they may not get rich. It isn't about money. See, the whole notion is that we've been told and we've been taught that money is power. That's not necessarily true. There's a lot of people with money that have absolutely no power. But those with power make the rules even for those with money. That is why, see, money doesn't corrupt absolutely. The saying goes, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Not money. You can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have power to go along with it, you're pretty useless. Yeah, you can buy and influence power if you have money, but there are people that have power without money. And they have more power than people with money. Power is where it's at. Which is also why you always kind of get these kind of laws that rule over you and I. They're laws about power. They're laws that have to do with power over you and me. Let's face it. A lot of the laws that we have, they are absolutely ludicrous if you look at them on the surface. But if you look at the reason why these laws were enacted, why these laws were even proposed in the first place, it has everything to do with power. And this notion of public safety is nothing but a red herring. Look, you can't deny what I'm telling you is the truth. You know it. Speaking of the truth, I love these people who get onto Google Plus, Google Circles, and things like that, and they are. Well, that's interesting. They tend to do all kinds of. Well, they tend to say all kinds of things, and a lot of times, which is no surprise to me because I see it daily. They say things without a lot of thought. They say and do things without a lot of thought, which is okay. But when you call them on it, they get upset. And then when you catch them in their own bullshit, they really get upset with you. Like, I was involved in a conversation on Google Plus, Google Circles, and the original conversation went, well, the reason why it got started, it went thusly. Since minimum wage is good enough for America, then it's good enough for you too, meaning that demand that Congress make $7.25 an hour until the national unemployment rate falls below 4%. Now, they don't mention the president, for one. But two, when I got involved in this conversation, it was because I read some of the comments and people are talking, well, people need a living wage. And they were saying, well, raising the minimum wage to $9 an hour isn't going to affect your Big Mac. And there was one person that even went so far as to say that there was a study that was done that showed that if the minimum wage rose, prices at Walmart wouldn't rise. Now, when I pointed out the fact that those studies were bogus and that they were done by academia, people who've never run a business before, and even one person even told me that, wages are a small part of a business's operating costs. No, wages is one of the top 3 costs of doing business, unless you're a self-employed person and there's nobody else working there. But wages are one of the biggest expenses a business has. Now, think about this. And he was talking about, well, raising the, giving people a 25-cent raise isn't going to hurt the company. I said, well, no. Maybe if you've only got 10 employees, giving each one a 25-cent raise isn't going to do anything. But why don't you do the math and multiply that out by 100,000 or more? Walmart? Multiply that out. And don't you know that adds up to be a huge number? Where do you think that money is going to come from? In the form of raising prices. Oh, we'll only have to, a Big Mac isn't going to cost $3. So I think a Big Mac already costs close to $3, doesn't it? I don't eat at McDonald's a lot, and I definitely never buy a Big Mac, so I don't know how much it costs, but it's probably close to $3 right now, right? Because, there are a lot of sandwiches out there. Burger King and Wendy's, they got $3 hamburgers and chicken sandwiches and stuff. And why is it that you want to give a teenager with no skills, no experience, $9 an hour? And why is it the federal government should be the one to institute a national minimum wage? We all know, well, I guess we all don't know. But here are the facts. $9 an hour in Rocky Top, Tennessee, for instance, will go a hell of a lot farther than $9 an hour in San Francisco, California. Can I get an amen? Oh, yeah, I brought that up. That didn't seem to sway them. And then, of course, they always want to attack me for being a conservative. I say, well, being a black man, there's nothing wrong with being a conservative. I believe in myself. And then, after I mentioned I was black about a half dozen times, I started calling them out and calling them racist. I said, well, if you don't want me to speak my mind, you got to be racist. You want to shut up a black man and keep him on the plantation, you've got to be a racist. And then one person had the gall to say, well, I didn't know you were black. And they were getting on me because I was calling them names, like I was calling them out, calling them liars. Or that they were living in fairy tale land. That was an ad hominem attack. In their eyes, I thought that was pretty light, considering I have been personally called the N-word and an Uncle Tom and all kinds of other words, but saying that they live in a fairy tale land, that hurts their feelings. And when I called them out and said that either you are a liar or you don't bother reading other people's posts, you just assume. Because I've mentioned at least a half a dozen different times that I'm black, and you're now telling me you didn't realize I was black. Either you don't read the post and you assume, or you're a liar. Not another post from him. Folks, this happens all the time. It's simply because liberals are only touchy-feely. If you attack their feelings, oh my gosh, they will get upset with you. Because their whole world is how they wish it were instead of how it really is. And trust me, I don't wear my skin color on my sleeve, so to speak. I don't go around using it as a red herring and dumping on people about them being racist. But you know what I found out? I said, enough of this crap. We on the right have to take all this from the left. How about we actually turn this around on them and see how they deal with it? The truth is when they're smack dead in the face with the truth, they can't handle it. So here's my suggestion to you. Whenever a liberal suggests something that is wacky, liberalistic, that is, and they're trying to accuse you of being a racist, turn it on them. Tell them obviously they're the ones that are being racist because they want to keep certain class of people down. Because in reality, that's exactly what they're doing. That is exactly what they're doing. And they can't get around it. I mean, we've got this stupid sequester thing going on. Look, they tried, but it didn't work, so they abandoned it. They tried to say that the sequester was about race. Why? Because Obama's black. Well, now we're starting to get certain news organizations that are actually acting like news organizations, like the Politico, and they're saying, "Wait a minute." They're only going to. I mean, we're hearing all these dire stories. I started to add up the numbers. They were going to have to cut, furlough this many people, and federal workers were going to have to take a day off a week for like 6 months or something, and they're going to have to lay off like 800,000 government workers, or was it just in the Department of Defense? And I started adding up, and planes were going to be delayed because they're going to have to lay off or fire air traffic controllers, and the border patrols were going to be cut, and surveillance was going to be cut. And the military was going to 25% of the Navy's ships were going to be parked. And I started adding all of this up, just roughly. Folks, from what I understand in the federal budget, here's the deal. This year, if sequester actually happens at the end of the week, it means the federal government budget will be cut by $44 billion. Now, understand, the federal budget for this year, as it stands, even though there's not a real budget, but as it stands, is somewhere around the realm of $3.7 trillion. Cutting $44 billion isn't even going to bring the budget under $3 trillion. Now, even though we may have sequester and the government may cut $44 billion, do you realize, and a lot of people don't, do you realize that the federal government will actually, in 2013, will actually be about $15 billion more than in 2012? How the hell can we have all these dire cuts? And if we started adding up all these cuts, like business-wise, well, let me just put it this way. If 800,000 employees in all of those programs that are going to have to be drastically cut, if all of that can be had for $44 billion, it means that we have a very efficient government, does it not? And if we have a very efficient government, why the hell do we need to spend over $3 trillion to run it? And I'm still trying to figure out, considering that 99.9% of all your first responders are paid by local taxes, how are policemen, firemen, and teachers going to be laid off if the federal government has cut $44 billion? And it's not even a cut. They're still spending $15 billion more this year than last year. So how are all those policemen, firefighters, and teachers going to get laid off when they're paid for by your local tax dollars? FBI agents are going to be fewer of them. Really? You're spending $15 billion more this year than last year, and a bunch of FBI agents are going to get fired? We're going to have to park 25% of our Navy? Well, I mean, the leftists want that anyway, so that's not a big surprise. And here's the other interesting thing is they're telling us that about half, $20 billion of this sequestration cuts is going to be in the military. Well, that's a lot of money for the military, yes, but that leaves $24 billion on the public side, and we're still going to have 800,000 people less, and fired FBI agents, and no border security, and fewer teachers and policemen. But we're supposed to believe this. Forget the fact that sequestration is a democratic idea. Oh, yeah. I know John Bonnier went along with it. Oh, yeah, well, maybe we should do something like sequestration. Yeah, I know John Bonnier went along with it. But this is an Obama idea. Although I did hear today that this was possibly a Bill Clinton idea. Oh, yeah, let's throw Bill Clinton under the bus so we can attach that to his wife, Hillary, because now I'm starting to hear the rumors that, Michelle My Belle Obama might run in 2016. And there are people out there saying, there's no possible way she can win. I said, why not? Her husband had no experience and no clue. He won 2 terms. Why not his wife? Everybody's talking about how beautiful and wonderful is. Everybody's talking about how smart Hillary is. I haven't heard people say how smart Michelle Obama is. But think of all the firsts that Michelle will have. A bigger first than Hillary. This is how Obama got elected. Hillary would have been the first female president, but she's white. Obama, he's the first black president, African American. Now think about this for Michelle. She'd be the first woman. She'd be the first black woman. She'd be the first black wife of a former president. Not to mention the first wife of a former president. There's all kinds of firsts with her that just outshine Bill. And she'd be the first president elected that was directly related to the previous president. She's got all kinds of firsts coming out her you-know-what. That just buries Hillary Clinton's first. Hillary Clinton would just be the first woman president and the first husband-wife to be president. That's it. Michelle My Belle Obama, she's got all those other firsts on top of that. So don't discount the fact that they might, the mainstream media might get behind a Michelle Obama presidency or candidacy. Look, I'm not bringing this stuff up because I'm just bringing it up out of thin air. I'm just inventing it in my own mind. This is stuff that I see floating around out there, folks. I can't make this stuff up. The facts are the facts, and what the mainstream media is doing is what they're doing. Those are the facts, too. The facts are the facts that liberals are the biggest freaking racists that we have in this country. Those are the facts. Well, Rod, I'm a liberal, and I just want to see everybody get lifted. Let me tell you something. First of all, there is no such thing as utopia. And even though it tugs at my heart, it's awful to think about or even say. The truth is we will always have poor people for a number of different reasons. It's called the human condition, because there will always be people who, for whatever reason, they fall through the cracks or they just like to hang out in the lower tier of humanity. Fine. But in a free society, even the lowliest of the low have the opportunity to raise themselves up by their bootstraps and make something of themselves and contribute to society. In a draconian, Marxist, socialistic, communistic society, they don't have that chance. If the government is going to decide who's going to win or lose, they have no chance, no matter how talented or gifted they may be. to rise above. They're going to have to depend on somebody else. And this is the whole point. It is about power. And you freaking racist liberals, you love the ability to feed someone because you have them in your power. And if they do not act and say the way you want them to act and say things you want them to say, you'll cut them off. I've noticed that there are not many liberal programs out there that teach a man to fish. But there's a whole hell of a lot of liberal programs out there that will give a man a fish daily. And that man has got to come back to you every freaking single day. Because as soon as he learns how to fish for himself, you, especially if he's black, you call him an Uncle Tom. As soon as he breaks away from that mantra that he cannot do anything without you, white brother and sister, he's an Uncle Tom. He's selling out. Oh my God, he's starting his own business. He's a sellout. Oh my goodness, he's leaving the inner city, the ghetto, and living in the suburbs. He's a sellout. I get it every freaking day. And it's disgusting. And the truth is, you're the racist. And I'm going to point it out. And as I do point it out, like I just saw today on Google Plus with two liberals, they, after I pointed it out to them, they shut up. Folks, point it out to them. Starting right here, right now, point it out to them. If there's anything that they, hey, we all, the biblical saying is that darkness hates light. Once you point it out, they don't like the light being shone upon them for what they really are. They'll run and hide. So the next time a liberal group tries to shut somebody down from speaking, all you have to do is shout over them and call them racist. Just point it out. Give it back to them. If they do not want to discuss their ideas on their merits, which they have none, then they're a racist. If they want to come back to you and say, well, geez, I didn't read your profile. I didn't know you were black. Either you're a liar or you don't bother to listen or read. And you're just assuming. Which one is it? Well, we don't like it when you call names. Right. I can see how name calling can be hurtful. But why don't we start with you? How about you start calling people names? Baby killers. Oh, yeah. Conservatives want to stop abortions, killing babies, unborn babies. But hey, we want to have gun rights and we're baby killers, and we want to try to protect citizens all across the planet and give them freedom. We're baby killers. Who are the real baby killers here? This is stuff that conservatives just haven't done in the past. They have not confronted these liberals on the liberals' turf, on the liberals' terms. Do it. Watch them cower in fear because the light of righteousness, if you want to use that term, is shown back on them. They cannot deal. They can't. I mean, now you got people wondering, well, what the hell is this sequestration fear coming from? This was Obama's. You're starting to get people on the left in mainstream media who are saying this, and people are starting to scratch their head. Yeah, wait a minute. Yeah, this was Obama's idea. What the hell is going on here? Now you're getting some people because now it's becoming a reality, folks. Because right now, from what I understand, there are no negotiations going on. Obama isn't talking. He's trying to blame the Republicans, but that's losing some muster because now people are scratching their heads and they're saying, wait a minute, this was Obama's idea. And Obama isn't talking. What's going on? Yeah, you can't get away with lying forever. Especially when some people who have the guts to tell the truth start being heard. And people are scratching their heads and thinking, well, and how is the government going to shut down? Folks, let me tell you something. I don't know about you, but I'm getting sick and tired of this so-called crisis mode of governance. If we were to solve the so-called sequestration crisis today, guess what we have coming up in about a month? Oh, yeah, the entire shutdown of the federal government. We'll be back.
I always loved watching the kids play basketball. I still do, even though things have changed. It's funny, they can't find jobs to get their career started. And I can't afford to retire. And now we're all living together again. I supported President Obama because he spoke so beautifully. He promised change, but things changed for the worse. Obama started spending like our credit cards have no limit. His healthcare law made health insurance even more expensive. We've had stimulus and bailouts. Obama added almost $16,000 in debt for every American. How will my kids pay that off when they can't even find jobs? Now Obama wants more spending and taxes. That won't fix things. I had so many hopes. Cutting taxes and debt and creating jobs. That's the change we need. Tell President Obama to cut the job-killing debt and support the New Majority Agenda at newmajorityagenda.org.
From Iraq and Afghanistan, our brave warriors are coming home, wounded. Some with wounds you can see, some with wounds you can't see. Wounded Warrior Project was created to support our men and women coming off the battlefield. Please help carry these warriors the rest of the way home. Get involved at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Feeling lonely this holiday season? Looking for little human interaction? Do you want to feel contact in certain special places?
Then why not go through security at an airport?
The TSA.
TSA agents are ready and standing by to give you a little something extra to feel thankful about this holiday season.
The TSA.
What are you waiting for? I want to check under your testicles.
Spending time with a TSA agent couldn't be easier. Simply book a flight departing from any American airport. When selected for a full body scanner, say no. You'll be pulled aside by a TSA agent, and that's when the fun begins. And you never know who your agent will be. It could be me. Or me. Or even me.
But it's probably gonna be us. Take off your damn shoes.
The TSA. It's our business to touch yours.
Welcome to the Bureau of Womanhood Conformity. Independent thoughts are considered subversive because all must agree with our leader.
When it comes to women,
Preventative care should include coverage of contraceptive services such as birth control.
You see, if you don't believe government should pay for your birth control, you're not a real woman. Womanhood denied. If you refuse to accept that pregnancy is a punishment, you're denied as well.
I don't want them punished with a baby.
If you don't believe that abortions should be allowed for any reason, if you don't believe in aborting a child for being the wrong gender, and if you don't believe that stay-at-home mothers aren't real workers, you are not a real conformed woman.
His wife has actually never worked a day in her life. His wife has actually never worked a day in her life.
Finally, for your safety, if you oppose mandatory government health care, you will die.
They will be voting to say that women can die on the floor.
These standards and regulations were formed after our glorious victory in the war on women. Thank you for your cooperation and your conformity.
Today is a special day. Today we gather as a nation and as an international community to recognize the selfless decision of one of the most influential women of our time. She's been recognized by religious figures and politicians around the world. To us, she's just Rachel. But to the rest of the world, she is the woman who, after having one too many drinks, chose not to drive home buzzed. Here today to honor Rachel is the family whose lives she spared.
Save a life. Don't drive buzzed. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
I was in chronic pain, and my family struggling to make ends meet, food and gas prices going up, even keeping my job was iffy. Then I learned about a new miracle drug made in Washington, D.C., Spenditol. Spenditol is Washington's answer to all the painful problems Americans face. How to borrow $800 billion for a stimulus that didn't create jobs or fix the economy? Spenditol.
Spenditol is not for everyone. Side effects may include a mountain of government debt piled on our kids, a sudden loss of freedoms, higher prices for everything, leaving our kids a lesser America than we had. Ask your doctor or congressman if your conscience is strong enough for Spenditol.
And it's so popular in Washington, we have to import trillions more of it from China. Spenditol makes you feel better now and pushes off the really bad stuff till later, for them to deal with.
Call the White House and Congress. Tell them, stop spending it all.
You're listening to The Rod Eccles Show.
And we are back. Yes, indeed, we are still working on, folks, and we're going to get this all figured out about having a call-in number again, so don't worry, that is coming up too. And I'm sure that will probably all be hand-in-hand with all the new equipment that we'll be installing this summer. So fear not, because I know I get some people that say, well, you don't take callers anymore, Ron. You know, let me address something right now, because I get people who are actually getting mad at me for not doing interviews with their candidate of choice or whoever of choice. Let me tell you something. I'm not trying to be rude or mean, but this is my show, and people tune in and they download the podcast and they listen live or they get archive editions because they want to hear my thoughts. I'm not a journalist. I don't interview people unless I reach out to you for some reason. I'm not going to do interviews, especially authors. Why the hell do I want some jerk who wrote a book to be on my show? I can write a book. That all the, right, oh, well, I wrote this book, Rod, so you should have me on your show. As if that's like the prerequisite. Give me a break. And I don't interview I could get some local politicians on here that have national connections. But why do I want to hear their BS? Not to mention, I am damn sure I would quickly get the reputation. This is why when I went to the New Hampshire Republican Committee, whatever it is, here in Concord, and I explained to the office manager, chairperson, whoever was in charge, I can't remember her name now, but when I explained to her exactly who I was and what I was doing and the talk show that I had, I know now why she didn't call me. Because I do not accept the bullshit that these reporters, so-called reporters, accept. Look, I ask you a direct question. Don't obfuscate it. Don't go around it. Answer it directly. See, I can't. This is why I can't watch those stupid Sunday morning political shows, because they ask a direct question that really honestly takes a one-sentence answer, and these guys will drone on for 5 minutes and still not answer the question. And the reporter lets them get away with it. That drives me insane. But see, I wouldn't allow that to happen. And sometimes I realize, I think, when I'm interviewing somebody, and I keep asking them the question because they're not answering, and I start to think, well, maybe I'm being mean and cruel and a jerk, and I need to back off. And I don't want to feel that way, because if I ask a question and you're a public servant, I have a right to know you work for me. Do you hear that, Chris Rock? The president is not our boss. We are the president's boss. Yeah, and this is one of the things that was said in the TV show, or the Netflix show House of Cards, when this congressman, he comes home and another congressman, the majority whip or whatever, is there. And the junior congressman's children are there, and the congressman says, well, this is Daddy's boss. And the children said, looking at their daddy, and I thought this was brilliant. The youngest one says, well, Daddy, I didn't think you had a boss. And the congressman says, well, everybody has a boss. And his oldest daughter said, yeah, I thought it was the people of your district. And here this congressman was calling the whip, another congressman, his boss. Why? Simply because he's been in Congress longer? This is why I believe firmly. I know there are some people out there that are jumping up and down and cheering because they've been trying to get me on the bandwagon for term limits for years now. And I've always said, I just don't think I'm there yet. Believe it or not, it took a work of fiction to really bring home the reality of the need for term limits. If it's good enough for the president, if it's good enough for some mayors and some governors, it's good enough for our Congress. I firmly believe we need term limits. You cannot tell me that there are only 535 people or 537 people in a nation of 310 plus million people, that there are only 537 people that can run this country. That's BS. And even the most liberal of you have got to recognize that as BS. So count me firmly in the realm of term limits. Because these people, they need to say, we need to, look, our country, I have said this over and over again, our country was founded and built by a bunch of political amateurs. Look what professional politicians have done to our country. We've given them a chance. They've screwed things up. More amateurs couldn't possibly make things worse. Just saying. Oh, and I want to thank people out there. I know I was out there a couple of weeks ago saying to WGIR 6:10 a.m. in Concord, Manchester, New Hampshire. Those of you who sent emails and posted notices and everything, trying to get them to hire me. I think it was for the. No, I didn't. I didn't even get a call back. I think maybe that even here in New Hampshire, they're not ready for a full-on conservative black man as a radio host. That's too bad, because they shouldn't be so racist. They should have given me a shot, even if it's just a partnership or weekend gig at 2 in the morning. I wouldn't care. I think I just would have had fun doing it. But if you want, you can still send, WGIR AM 610 is the name of the radio station. I think that's their WGIR.com, I think, is their website. You can still go over there and send them emails. I'm not going to let it go. We'll see where it goes in about a year or so. Always keep in front of them. That could be a lot of fun. It could be, hey, if anything, it'll definitely shake up some liberals here in this state. Maybe send some of them back across the border back into Massachusetts, which wouldn't be a bad thing. Just saying. Folks, here is something. I could not believe this when I was reading this. This is from The Blaze. We have an issue with our patent office. And we have an issue with our the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. They're giving out patents to a bunch of cretins for stuff that should never have a patent or a trademark on. Now, folks, our Patent and Trademark Office, the United States Patent and Trademark Office, gave a trademark to a foreign Italian company for the exclusive use of the name Jesus, our Lord and Savior, in Christendom. I kid you not. Here's a story. What are Jesus' genes, and why are they sparking legal battles over Christ's name? Here's a story. When Michael Julius Anton came up with a clothing line concept, he thought he had the perfect name for it. Jesus Surfed. Now understand that Jesus, or Jesus, or Yeshua, is a rather popular name. So there are potentially millions of people out there who've just now had their name co-opted and they can't use it. I'm thinking about trademarking my own name. I don't think that this guy did. I got an email from he's from Chicago. Now, I don't think he sent it, but he's a Dr. Rodney Eccles. He's a dentist, and I think he's out of Chicago. I got an email a while back asking if I would change the name of my show. Now, his reason behind it is, when you Google my name, Rod Eccles, I occupy most of the first 3 pages, bumping him off. Now, it is, believe it or not, it isn't something that I went and tried to do. I didn't do all this SEO stuff that people talk about. It just happened. I have no control over Google. And the same thing happens when you Yahoo or ask my name. But I didn't ask to do that. I just, did the stuff that I did, and I guess evidently that was, viewed in favor according to their different algorithms over his dentistry practice. But I got an email just a while ago from his practice. I mean, why am I? Look, it's my name too. Sorry. But so maybe I should trademark my name as well. But here's a story about Jesus. When Michael Julius Anton came up with a clothing line concept, he thought he had the perfect name for it, Jesus Surfed. But after he tried to register the trademark, the entrepreneur was shocked to find that another clothing company is cornering the market on the name Jesus. An Italian line named Jesus Jeans had already convinced the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office back in 2007 to allow it to sell clothing under Christ's name. This victory then led the Italian company to subsequently rebuff any and all attempts to use Jesus, the name Jesus, to sell attire. While there is no cracking down on Christ's image, his name, according to the jeans company, is awful. Well, how the hell are they going to crack down on his image? Look, don't think that somebody isn't going to try. See, but this whole notion that we can trademark just about anything and keep other people from using, that is a bunch of BS. You can't trademark Christ's name, for crying out loud. It doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to everybody. I mean, what's next? Are they going to start cracking down on the kids who are selling those WWJD what would Jesus do bracelets? Oh, I guess it's technically clothing. They can't have T-shirts with that says WW. Because why? Because it's Jesus. And this Italian company back in 2007, they've got a corner. They've cornered the market on it. And our U.S. Patent Office allowed this. Well, some of you might be out there saying, well, Rod, it's just clothes. Really? How about this? Supreme Court to hear Monsanto seed case. The Supreme Court appeared likely last Tuesday to side with Monsanto Company in its claim that an Indiana farmer violated the company's patents on soybean seeds that are resistant to its weed killer. Now you have to understand that Monsanto has sued just about everybody into the dirt. And here's how they did it. Because our patent office allowed the patentization, if you will, of living organisms. So when Monsanto decided that they were going to create a soybean that was resistant to a pesticide that they created, Monsanto decided, well, you know what? We need to protect this. So you cannot, like a good farmer does, you can't save the seed from a previous harvest. Oh, no. You have to buy the Monsanto seed every year you plant. If you don't, you're in violation of their patent. Now, here is the scary, disgusting part. Something called pollination. Well, there are farmers that didn't buy Monsanto seed at all, never had Monsanto seed. But due to pollination in the wind, their crop had been cross-pollinated, and some of that seed and pollen has flown over into their property. Those farmers save their seed. Then they go and grow the seed. Monsanto comes back in a season or two after that, without the farmer knowing, tests their crop and says, hey, this seed, this crop has our genetic material. You have to pay us, or you have to dig it under, and you have to buy seed from us from now on, or you have to go out of business. And if the farmer doesn't comply, Monsanto sues them, and so far, in over 90% of the cases, Monsanto wins. But here's the problem. None of the justices in arguments at the High Court seemed ready to endorse farmer Vernon Hugh Bowman's argument that cheap soybeans he bought from a grain elevator are not covered by the Monsanto patents, even though most of them also were genetically modified to resist the company's Roundup herbicide. I got to tell you, I will never use another Roundup product ever again. Chief Justice John Roberts wondered why in the world would anybody invest time and money on seeds if it was so easy to invade patent protection. Why in the world would you give anybody patent protection on such things in the first place? That should be the question, Chief Justice. How are these folks enforcing this patent? It's criminal. Mother Nature is taking care of what Mother Nature has always taken care of through animals, through wind. And now you're telling somebody who has nothing to do with this, with Monsanto at all, that now they have to buy that genetically modified seed because their crops have been, if I were a farmer, I would, since they've put this out there, farmers should start suing Monsanto for polluting their pure crops. I don't know why it hasn't been done or why it's not being done right now. I would spend every last dime I had pursuing that kind of a lawsuit. You have polluted my fields, Monsanto. You need to pay me. I had a pure crop that was non-modified, non-genetically modified. People love the non-modified soybeans, and you have polluted my fields forever. You pay me. That's the only way we're going to stop this crap. And no, I'm not one of the... Look, let me tell you something about genetically modified food. We think we're so damn smart. We humans think we're smarter than nature. And then we start finding out that some of this genetically modified stuff that we have is not very good for us. Duh! The problem is that we do not have a clue. Remember vitamins. We had, all these vitamin companies that were doing these chemical vitamins, and we're always told, well, vitamins, they're not showing any progress. And then we find out that there's more vitamins that we didn't know about before. And that they interact with some of the vitamins that we currently know about. And then we find out there's these things called phytonutrients. We didn't know about that. Look, there is so much stuff in our food, in the DNA process, that we have no clue about. But yet we're running around messing with all this stuff. We have no idea what we're doing. No, maybe we're not. Some people say, well, we're not blind mice, Rod. No, maybe we're not blind mice, but we definitely have one eye closed and the other eye is legally blind. I'm sorry, we can't get around this stuff, folks. This is taking away your freedom to choose, basically. And our patent office is allowing this kind of stuff. I'm all about freedom, folks. How about you? I'm Rod Eccles. I'm out of time for this evening. We'll be back tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. for the Rod Eccles Show Express, and we will be getting back to our full 2-hour show, possibly a 3-hour show later this summer. So stay tuned, folks. We'll be back tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel.
Well, goodbye. And don't think it hasn't been a little slice of heaven, because it hasn't.
I'm Rod Eccles. This has been the Rod Eccles Show. I'm out.